This is the Intermission Podcast.
We want to get to know our homeboys and homegirls and invite you into our space.
It's a whole mood of positivity.
The Intermission Podcast. Welcome back to the Intermission Podcast, A Break with Your Homegirls.
This is our new segment called Men Are Trash. But let me ask my homeboy, part 2.
So that's right. It's time for roll call. I'm Jessica E. Williams, aka CEO J. Will.
And I'm Jessie Denise.
And I'm Ivana.
Let's get into this. All right. You know what I mean?
All right.
Had to get the energy up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been quite the ordeal of a week. So we here. All right. So anywho. All right, y'all. So last week's episode, it was deep. We got deep. We dug deep. Gems, nuggets, jewels, all of that. So, we had to continue the conversation. We got Knight back with us all the way from Paris, France. You know what I mean? We got Mr. Brandon Fobbs back with us. LA baby all day. You got the three of us.
East Coast LA, baby.
East Coast LA, all that. Maryland, Beatmore, all that. So we are back to continue this conversation. We are so excited. Men are trash. Let me ask my homeboys, okay? So we asking our homeboys about this whole topic. So we're gonna pick up where we left off. So last week we were talking about communication, which was great stuff. So to recap, okay? Because listen, y'all have been coming for our lives about this topic. But to recap, men are trash. No, we don't think that. The three of us don't think that, okay? That's not our lives. It's not how we live our lives. It's not what we're doing, okay? It's just the name of the series, the name of the episode. If you listening, you would know that. If you watching, you would know that. That's not how we feel, okay? But what we have been doing is unpacking trash, toxic behavior on both sides, okay? Men and women, okay? And so we've been talking about trash or toxic behavior being lack of communication, not being able to expound or explain yourself in terms of where you are in your evolution and your journey, not being clear about those things, and sort of just kind of going along with the flow and not unpacking emotional situations and circumstances that could be holding you stagnant, okay? So we want to advance you in that. And then if you're making it a habit or a practice to engage in ego, pride, and selfishness on a consistent basis, that's left unchecked, mind you, okay? Because none of us have arrived. None of us are all the way 100 with anything, but we're trying to progress, elevate, get better. So men are trash. Not 100%, not if you're not choosing to be. Women are not trash, not if you're not choosing to be trash, okay? We want everybody is collectively moving together away from the trash, all right? That's what we're trying to do. So today we're gonna pick it back up. So we were talking about communication when it comes to relationships last week. So I wanna ask one more question to kind of wrap that up. So gentlemen, if you could tell us very briefly, in your last relationship, now this is a relationship, we're not talking about a situationship, a love and touch, none of those things. Okay? Actual.
You told her she your girl.
LMI, baby, bite up, boot up. Like we talking about that, okay? Because we know, fellas, y'all love that song. Listen, nobody was playing that song more than y'all. Y'all was loving boot up. Anyway, in your last relationship now, what did you learn about yourself in that relationship? Either one of you all can answer. Gentlemen. Or has it been that long? They're like, shoot, I don't even remember.
What I learned is definitely how to allow someone else to see me. And when I say allow someone else to see me, and then I need to see what they see. You know what I'm saying? So like, what's it called? because we all got our own ways that we rationalize our behavior as okay. We've been living with ourselves for 30, 40 years now. So you're like, yo, I've come to be able to forgive myself for that. But when somebody else sees it and calls it out, I learned to not protect it. You know what I mean? Or see what's not necessary to protect. But that's a twofold thing, because when somebody come for you in a relationship, it can feel like they're coming for you, or it can feel like they're just citing something that they see with care. You know what I mean? So it's like, for the man, for anybody, for the receiver, I learned to you listen and hear what they're saying, and okay, observe yourself through what they're saying. And then for the person that's given the because I've told somebody about themselves too sometimes, when you're telling them, you're not telling them with an or a you know what I mean? You're just telling them like, what I see is a bit of a what I perceive is, we've talked long enough. You search for the right landing to come in on, you know what I mean? So you let that person know that you're trying to say something that needs to be said, but not hurt them.
Not hurt them.
Not hurt them.
You're not trying to hurt them. It might, because some people,
it might hurt.
It's going to hurt. Some things it's going to hurt when you told that how you living ain't perfect. Sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to hurt when something you said was okay ain't okay. Right. You know what I mean? But if you can try to land in there as best you can, or at least let them know your intention.
And if your intention is to help the person get better,
not just to come at them like
all on some, or it was all on your little chest for too long and you just exploded and you had to get it out. Like, if you not, listen, I think it was Thumper and Bambi who said, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all, okay? Or if you're gonna say something that might not be kosher or nice, fam, just stack that thing, make it, put it together so it's a little bit nicer, so it's a little bit kinder, so you're not trying to intentionally crush a person. So that's male or female, because if you're doing that on either end, that's trash, okay? We would.
And then they can hear you.
Go ahead, Mar.
They can hear you. Like, if you're coming at me sideways or like with the attitude or like harsh, I'm not going to hear you. And it's not about even like softening the blow to make it lighter or to not be as effective. It's just doing it in love. Like, if you're in a relationship, then you probably are in deep like or love at this point if you feel the conversation is necessary. So if you know what I mean? Like, you're going to want to tell them in a way where it's like, I want you to just be better. Like, I'm not telling you this because of, I just want this off my chest, but as a woman telling the man, I'm saying, because we're talking about what you learned, Brandon, for you to be able to receive it would be only beneficial if you actually heard what she said and not.
Yeah, and it's so hard. I'm gonna tell y'all, because that lady from what was it, War Room, she was doing something. She was talking to some other white lady, and they were just talking about like basically husbands and wives and stuff and everything. And she was like, one of the major fears that men have, and I was like, oh damn, this is real. But one of the major fears that men have is that a woman's trying to control them. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of the major fears, because a lot of times it comes off as y'all ladies, so y'all, none of y'all here, trying to control somebody, because it might be just a breakdown of communication, because you see something we don't see, but when you or us, whoever sees something that somebody doesn't see, says something, and you say it like you said, Vaughn, without love, you know what I mean? Now it's like, you should do this my way, or this is the way I see things, this is the way you should be. You know what I mean? And cut what you used to do it this way now. You know what I mean? So it's like, without love, that's what you hear. You know what I mean? Without love, you hearing somebody really just decimate all you've worked on and say, throw that away and be this.
Yep. So that's about tone. That's about intention, tonality, okay, body language, etc., etc., etc. So
yeah.
Thank you, B. That's an important point. Sir Knight, You have a
Sir Night. That's like
Sir Night.
Sir Night, right?
Check out the Grapes and Water video if you want to know more about that. But go ahead.
Okay, all right, just putting it all out there.
I do what I can.
It's just like, I don't know. For me, it wasn't necessarily like, because you always learn about yourself as you go through the journey, no matter if you know, in a relationship at that time period of your life or not. For me, I'm not gonna say what I learned about self, more so just like what I learned I wanted, what I learned I didn't want, how to better love, or how to better care for somebody, how to better listen. I don't think those are necessarily things that like I was learning about myself, but just learning how to do things better. And a lot of times, like, that stuff happens at the end of the relationship, because it's like this relationship ended because I wasn't doing X, Y, Z. Like if it's on me. So because I wasn't doing this, because I wasn't communicating properly, because I wasn't listening to, you know, an issue that you had months ago, and now because I let that go by, and now something has been happening, you know, now I got to deal with those consequences. And sometimes those consequences result in the end of a relationship. And I think, like, for me, it was just it. You know, it just showed me where I still had a lot of growing to do, in terms of just my own life. And it also showed me, just for sure, it's like, oh, I know what it is that I want, and I know what it is in which I have to do in order to get it.
Mm-hmm. So. Which is a perfect segue to our topic for today. So in terms of talking about journey and evolution, which we've talked about this episode and are currently on the journey to get deeper into. So for you all, as men, and we talked about this in the last few episodes, you know, like with women, you know, there's a certain level of, you know, working on self and self-awareness and preparedness and this, that, and the third, which we feel all human beings should be doing, male or female, right? But we are sort of trying to unpack this debate, or rather inquiry, that we have about how sometimes it seems like women are doing a whole lot of work, but men are not doing a whole lot of work. When really the situation is women are doing the work and men are doing the work, but it looks different for both parties, just because we are wired different, created differently, if you believe in that, reared differently, right? And then there are some things societally, which you've talked about, that are, you know, quote unquote, more feminine versus masculine, blah, blah, blah. We could go on about that for days. But in terms of unpacking that whole journey and evolution of what it looks like for men versus women. So with that being said, how would you both define like what evolution looks like for you, or what does it mean to you, sort of? What would you say behind that?
For me, evolution is like, it's a continual process. It's nonstop. It's I know some people, they're like, oh, now that I got to this one point, like, I'm good. For me, you know, evolution is something that you do until you no longer is drawing breath on this earth. Like, it should be constant. And so I never look at anything as a final destination when it comes to growth.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of life, like in terms of like my emotional growth, it's all like I'm always doing the work. There's never a stopping point. I'm always gonna go deeper. I'm always, if I'm gonna learn, if I'm gonna meditate, if I've been meditating, I'm gonna meditate deeper, longer. Like if I'm reading, I'm gonna read deeper books. Like I just always got to keep going. If I have relationships, I'm gonna try to go deeper into those. There's always more work to be done. That's what evolution is to me. It's not a destination. It's something that you got to constantly be doing, because if not, you devolve.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if not, you're definitely going backwards. There's no, people say, oh, I'm stagnant. If you feel that you're stagnant, that means you're regressing. So,
Big fact.
That's like a quick summary on that. I don't know if that's.
All right. No, it's good.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it's
No, I
good.
can agree with him. I agree totally because consistency, kind of like he's saying, is what you gotta consistently evaluate yourself and look for answers and look for truth. Like for me, I'll know when I'm off on reading the word because that's what I hold my life accountable to, and I'll know when I'm on. You know what I mean? When I'm on, I'm really reminding myself and my soul on how to handle situations in life and how to handle my own mind in my quiet times and stuff like that. But when I'm off, I'm just letting my mind go with whatever is happening in the moment. You know what I mean? And so that's how you can fall backwards into situationships. That's how you can fall backwards into anything that's entertaining me from just external versus me being on point and talking to other brothers like-minded like me or something, and all those things that helped me evolve because I start to just like so I don't have to wait till I'm in a relationship now to get those things told to me by all those things, so many of those things told to me by the person I want to be with that might strain our relationship. I'm getting some of these things now told to me by brothers who love me but ain't got no relationship with me, so they ain't got to fear losing me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so because it's funny how even I said, lady, we look heavy because of a certain situation, things going on, and Jess made a joke. She said, "You saying I look fat?" Like there's certain things that when you in a relationship with a person, all of a sudden, even if y'all were friends for a long time before, there's certain things now when you say them, they get contentious. You know what I mean? It brings up strife and anxiety and all that stuff. And it's like if you can tackle those things out of a relationship, like with somebody that can see them things in you, you know what I mean? Friends who can see those things, like, dude, you kind of rude, or you kind of belittle people when you talk to them. Any of that stuff. Now you can kind of knock out those things before you get into a relationship, or at least when you're in a relationship, when they say it, that somebody else said it too, so it ain't just them. They ain't crazy. You know what I mean? Because sometimes how people try in a relationship try to make you feel like you're on an island. Nobody else said that to me. Like, why you the only one that think I'm crazy? So it's like, I've been isolated with a person before who separated all their, like, they did not like if I talked to any of their friends about them, because it's like what happens is I might find out something about them, and they don't want certain things found out about them. You know what I mean? And so, that way they can keep everybody on the island about who they are. You know what I mean? So when you say you kind of rude to people, they'd be like, nobody else has a problem with that. You know what I mean? And it's like, I actually did talk to one of your friends and they said, yeah, you are. You know what I mean? But if we do that work with our own peeps.
So that sounds like a person that is trying to compartmentalize their life so that they can continue the narrative
that's
trash behavior.
What do you say?
So they can continue their trash behavior.
Trash behavior, that control behavior. You know what I mean? You try to control every aspect of your life because you're scared to death of adapting.
Yeah. So it sounds like, based on both of you all's answers, evolution is pretty much taking personal responsibility, like responsibility for self, for wanting to, like you said, evolve, grow, get better, learn more about yourself, but it isn't always connected to you being in a relationship with someone else, particularly of the opposite sex in this case, but like building community of other people that, kind of tell you what's going on, keep you in check, help you sort of along the journey. Do you all feel that, that is there a place where male pride or male ego can sort of get in the way of men evolving or getting to a certain point? Like, I know, especially for like men of a certain age, they're like, this is how I am and I ain't gonna change. You know what I mean? And some people get to that point later in life than others, but some people, like you guys are talking about in terms of being stagnant and sort of in a holding pattern. Have you guys witnessed that in yourself or in other people, and how did you see people sort of get out of that that pattern of behavior? Or is that a thing that you feel like could stop someone?
Well, the first thing you said, I just want to clear up, like for myself, like my evolution, I don't think ever has anything to do. Like I think a relationship can evolve, like because a relationship is this separate thing. But my own like evolution never has anything to do with a relationship or who I'm with. Like that should be a thing that that we always striving for, regardless if we in a relationship or not. I just want to be clear about where I'm like at on that.
Oh, that's what I was trying to reiterate. I'm sorry if it wasn't clear, but that's what I was trying to say in terms of personal responsibility, self-responsibility of you being responsible for your own evolution outside of another person. So that should be a goal for yourself in general, which, because then that leads into being codependent on people all the time. Like always needing someone to tell you, like there should be a certain level of self-awareness that you have personally, right? But I also wanted to, within that, say community is also very important, whether it's your significant other or not. You know what I mean? Like I think all of us on here are constantly holding each other accountable for different things or trying to challenge each other or any of that stuff. So I don't want to be like every man be an island, because that's not the goal either. But there should be some things about, you know, your own journey, your own evolution that you're striving for by yourself, absent of a person. Right. But anything to add in terms of ego and pride and stopping evolution for a man?
And stopping it?
Yeah, or stagnating it. I was like, I mean, you know, you either evolving or devolving. You either.
Yeah, true. Were you saying something, Knight? Were you about to say something to it?
Oh no, I mean you can go. I was going to, but
go for it.
Yeah. Just for like, in terms of like that ego pride thing, that whole just what you were saying about men getting to a certain point, or people getting to a certain point and saying this is where I'm at, and now they stuck in their ways. That's just I've seen that from men around my life that stuck in their ways, and I'd be looking at that and it's played out and it's corny. Like straight up, it's corny. This shit is whack. It's like I've been here for 60-some years. This is how it is. And I'm never gonna change. It's like, bro, you look bad. You look bad. And I remember in my head, I'm like, God, I never want to be like that. Never want to be like that. And you know, just because somebody younger than you, you know, young, like don't mean that they don't mean that they don't see the world in a different, you know, way, or you know, have some knowledge that maybe I haven't been privy to. But yeah, so like I've seen that pride and I've seen what it's done, and so that's a route that I never wanted to go. It's a route that I never wanted to go, because it's played out. Because when you do that, you get locked into old world ways of thinking, and you know that aren't even with the times. So personally, like I'm not like I don't necessarily rock with the whole traditional relationship structure. Like a man's supposed to do this, and then a woman's supposed to do that. Mm-hmm. And that's just not how I rock. And I know that for some, like especially older generations, you know, like the little things I get, it's like my woman don't gotta get my plate. like those type of like mentalities that have to exist. Like, dang, she ain't gonna get your plate for you. Mm-hmm. And those type of things. I just remove kind of those kind of old ways. And that works for you, that works for you. It's no not. It's just like that works for you. If your partner is also with that, cool. Now, if your partner ain't with that and they just kind of forced to be in that, then that's where a problem is. But for me personally, my own life, those are things that I just try to remove ego as much as possible, because that thing can keep you in a prison that you ain't even recognizing. For sure I have it though. I for sure got it in like certain ways, and I'm sure there's gonna be times where it rears its head, and when it does, I got to check myself. You know, and sometimes it takes other people that know me to bring it out. Like, hey, you was doing X, Y, Z. But generally, for myself, I'm generally a person that would listen. You know, and even if you don't feel like I'm listening initially, I may come back to you a week later and be like, hey, bro, I remember you was telling me I was tripping like this. You was right. But yeah, I don't know if there's any specific instances, but that's just my general disposition towards it.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Trying to stop you from being trash, huh? You need community, you need people. Brandon, what's up? What you got? What you got on it?
Yo, something like Knight said too. I've seen it, and it's usually in the older generations now because I think our generations now. I mean, we still got it around us in different ways, but the older generations were really, man is this, they do it, and there's some good things because men had clear duties of what they did, and they worked to do them. But then there's some bad things because it did shut down some relational issues like listening to each other, and you see older women who are kind of like frustrated, extra frustrated, and just kind of give up in certain areas and stuff. So, there's a happy medium because certain, I don't know, certain things about a man holding on to certain pride makes him work hard to uphold it. You know what I mean? Like makes him. I've noticed that because I thought it was ugly and trashy the whole time, but then I see that those men are the ones who do and finish and take care of certain ground. You know what I mean? And so there's a level of that, a small level, not too big, but a small level of where they, because then also man needs to be a decision maker. You know what I mean? Sometimes when we are so open, and I've been on different spectrums where it's like we're so open, then you see a resenting factor happen in a woman where it's like just make a decision. You know what I mean? Like when it, like because you're considering too many options. You're like, well, I don't want to be like that, and I don't want to be like this, and I don't want to. And it's like, so a certain level of pride needs to be like, nah, I need to finish it like this. It needs to get done. We got to do it. It needs to get done now. Let's go. Like this might not be the best. Well, we're gonna have to find out. This is what needs to get done. You know what I mean? So it's like you can still have that without being mean prideful or ego-y prideful, but it's going to be a level of something in there that I've just noticed. I'm like, man, sometimes I got to shut down all this openness, all this extra, this, because I feel like the generation tries to make me almost not want to make a decision about anything. You know what I mean? Wants to and I'd say generation, I'm just like the fad of, being so open and so accepting of everything and wonder, you know what I mean? I'm like, all right, no, I need to be assertive and sometimes that can be called prideful, but it's like, look, you got to make a decision, And so maybe I'm misnaming it or maybe misdiagnosing it, but I've seen it where those men, those old school men, they get things done. You know what I mean? And so I think there's a happy. It's hard, but I think there's a happy medium that you have to.
Somebody about to say something?
No.
I feel you. Like when I hear you say that, I guess I never, because I definitely am, when I make a decision, I make my decision. And I weigh the options in my head. I may seek counsel on things and then I make my decision. I'm assertive about it. I don't second guess it I'm gonna go through the options. And I definitely had I have an old school father, and there's a lot of him that lives in me.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I never, as I hear you say it, I'm like, damn, I guess I never attributed that to being a man though, right? I just attributed it to me being me. So I never necessarily considered it like, oh, it's because I'm a man I'm doing this. I just always attribute it to just my personality, but it could be that too. Like, I don't know. When hearing you say that though, yeah, it's definitely a sense like that sense of pride, that they got, that to maneuver through the world and like make these type of, to make boss decisions or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I always lived by it.
Yeah.
But I just never attributed it to like, oh, because I'm a man, I'm doing it that way. I just attributed it, because I'm a boss, I'm doing it that way. Because that makes sense.
It does. And the thing I notice is the happy medium I'm talking about, you want to still be able to put that pride aside so you can communicate with your woman. But the thing I saw with those old school kind of men, their women had a sense of security. You know what I mean? They had a sense of security because they know that their dude, when it come down to it, he got a line that he's drawn and he's gonna stay. You stand on that side of the line with him. He's gonna defend that line. You know what I mean? Like he ain't gonna waver and fall off and you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that but there's balance, right? Because it's like, as much as there's a security in that, right? It's like you're saying, keeping the lines of communication open to be like, this is a decision on the table. I value your opinion about this. You know, what do you say? And if you're in more of a, you know, traditional relationship dynamic, you know, the buck might stop with the man to be like, okay, he's making this decision. You know what I mean? So I think it's a matter of sharing the load, but also like, I also know women, you know, if we, you know, are talking in an old school sense or even young, it really doesn't matter. It just depends on the dynamic of your relationship. But where, you know, a man is actually operating in ego and pride in a way that a woman could perceive like this gonna end up really bad for him. But if you're in a space, because you're a grown man, if I bring it to your attention, I try to address it with you and communicate like we've been talking about, right? And you are still making an executive decision that you're gonna move forward despite my wishes or my, you know, intuition is saying like, this doesn't feel right. And sometimes I've watched men have to learn that lesson where like, you know, they like, nah, this is what we gonna do and this is exactly what we doing, this is how we doing it. And they do it. And the woman is like, oh, okay. And sure enough, that thing goes exactly how she, you know, either that women's intuition or whatever you want to call it, where they were like, I tried to tell you, but you didn't want to take that into consideration, which is also a lesson in terms of that man's evolutionary journey, right? So it's like sometimes a woman can't get in the way of that. It's like that man needs to learn that lesson, and you need to let that man learn the lesson as much as you need to let your kid learn that lesson. You know what I'm saying? We've all been those kids where your mama been like, are you sure you want to do that? And he'd be like, yes, I do. I know what I'm doing. Don't try to run my life. And then you'd be like, oh, she was right. Dang, okay. Or your dad was right, or whoever was right. But sometimes that's part of your journey is you got to go through and, you know, hit your head a couple times or, you know, and it's, I think we take it as like, this person is trying to control me. Sometimes they just might have more wisdom than you do in that particular situation. They trying to help you avoid a fall or a, you know, a scrape or whatever. But if that's what you need, that's what you need. I'm not gonna stop you.
Y'all's nephew is all, you know, I'm like,
you gotta do what you gotta do. That's part of your journey. Nate, you got something? You look like you got something you want to add.
Like, but when we talk about like these like old school situations and different things, right? So we talking about a previous generation,
right?
I feel like sometimes it's hard for me to like gauge that because at the same time, like, you know, people say, dang, men are less masculine now, and like I don't believe that. But I think that what's happening is that because women are coming into their power more and more, like people are perceiving it as men are less manly or less, you know, whatever it is. But it's real hard because like sometimes those decisions in which we made is like, did the woman let the man make this because she felt she had less power in society, in the relationship, and just in a whole host in the house in general, because of sexism or whatever was happening at that time. And so like it's just something that I try to think about if I'm ever placed in positions where that's challenged in any type of way, you know?
Yeah. Go ahead. Keep going.
No, I just say that's I just try to, if I ever feel that I'm in a space where like something seems off, I just try to, you know, sit on it and make sure that I'm making a decision or moving in a way that's in line with what I'm with the person I'm trying to be. Yeah, that's why I said earlier, I don't necessarily buy into the whole traditional roles as much, because I understand that it's a different world now, and those old rules were applied to a world back then. And I'm not saying that everything, I'm not saying that everything's bad from times past, like not at all. But I think that with an evolved world comes evolved thoughts.
Yeah. I agree. Jess?
No, I agree. I was going to ask about, because you touched about evolution and evolving, and I know, like Brandy, you said about having a group of men that you can bounce these things off of. And Knight, I know before you have said something about having wise counsel. And I'm just wondering, like, in your guys' evolution, is it just men, or do you guys have men and women that you guys bounce things off of that help you, and what does that look like?
That's so funny because as you asked, I was like, huh. You know, I mean, some of the men that is mainly men for me, but then men are married and they do have wives that, you know, are cool with me too. So then their wives might speak, but it's not like, if I'm honest, I don't have, let's see, nobody that I really, no older women or just, yeah, no women really like that. I mean, like friends, you know what I mean? So I do have female friends, you know what I mean, that I talk to about that kind of stuff and everything like that, but not frequently. More so men.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good little thing. Maybe I have to put some more ladies up in the councils.
Council. The council is important. The council is important. That's yeah, I kind of got like a thing for self that I only keep real people around me. That's like, so if you ain't real, then if I sense a part you ain't real, is you out, you get in that 2-week notice and
2-week notice though.
Yeah, hey, let's hang out in 2 weeks. It's our last time. You feel me? Give it back. But on the real, like for myself, it's interesting because Brand, what you were saying about like older women, I was like, yo, do I have any older women? Like I got a gang of aunties. Just like my counsel, like in terms of like women are definitely women around the same age, like of my generation. In terms of older women though, I definitely don't have like no older women. Like maybe I talk to moms about something here and there, but I ain't going to moms for counsel. Like that doesn't happen. But yeah, in terms of counsel, like I do have counsel though, and I think for me it's like black women that are around, the same. Like if it's for different issues, I got counsel for different things. There's not like one counsel for there's not one counsel for for everything. So if it's a situation I feel I need to talk to black women about, then I'm gonna talk to black women about, because that's where I'm gonna get that knowledge from. If it's a situation I need the male perspective, and from that, and sometimes I'm gonna get it from all different places, and I'm gonna sit on it, and I'm just gonna listen. I'm gonna listen, and I'm gonna take it all in from all the different places. I'm gonna make the best decision possible for me. But it's a mix. It's a mix because it's only a mix because I got different groups of people that I talk to for different reasons. So if I think about it,
that's good.
And everybody's walk of life and experience. That I'm sure
Yeah.
that all adds to the melting pot that is you. You feel me? You gotta never strain for whatever your internal barometer is, but you want to have a lot of things to sort of pull from as you're going on your journey and evolving. So go ahead.
Look, I know you're asking us the questions, but ladies, I'm just thinking, what about y'all as far as the men? Like do y'all like men? Of course, like I say of course, but I want y'all to answer because I can't speak for ladies. But y'all like a man to be decisive and assertive and stuff like that. So far, I'm saying that, but that's what I've heard. So like, what are y'all takes on men's?
You want to take this
on the men's? What is your takes on the men's?
On the men's assertiveness.
I do appreciate a man who is decisive and assertive and knows what he wants and is just like, boom. I appreciate a man being a leader. I am old school in certain ways. I will make your plate, but I want you to open my door. But I'm not, everything does not have to be so, this is what the man does, this is what the woman does. No, it has to be whatever's good for your household. is what works. And I've given the example before, but my godparents, like my godfather can cook better. They both can cook, but he can cook better. If he got home first, he made dinner. They both have full-time jobs. You know what I mean? He's a correctional officer and she managed banks. Like whoever got home first cooked. Like it was not oh, I've been home for 2 hours. Now she come home and now he waiting for her to cook dinner. You know, and that's what I saw growing up. You know what I mean? Same thing with my my son's grandparents. Like I saw that. I've known them since I was 14 years old. You know what I mean? Like I just always saw pretty much like not 50-50, but whatever equation is good for your whole family. I always saw that growing up. So, but I was also raised by a single mom. Like I had to get a lot of things out of my mind. I had to get I don't need no man to take care of me. I don't need no man to help me. I don't need no man to such and such and such, because between being, you know, I was a single mom, but his dad, we're co-parent. We co-parented, but I was still, you know, raising him by myself the majority of the time. My mom was a single mom, so that I don't need nobody. I had someone that I was dating at the time had to like check me because I drove from the Valley all the way to Venice Beach to go bike riding and realized I left my wallet in my friend's car. And so I went to go to the bank to get money out to go rent our bikes. And he was like, I got you. I'll pay for you in Christian. Like, it's cool. Like, we just come on. This is like 10 years ago. I was like, no, I drove all the way back home. I did not let him pay for me and Christian to eat lunch and to get our bikes to go bike riding. I drove back home from Venice back to the Valley. Yeah. And he was like, yo, you got to let me help you. Like, that's what I'm here for. And that helped me. Like, that was where I started to be like, oh, okay, let me break that wall down a little bit, because I feel like men feel a need to be needed. Like if we're always like, we don't need you, then it's like, what am I here for?
What am I here for? Yeah.
Like, what am I doing? And he was like, yo, like, I'm like that, like we're in a partnership. Like I could have just paid for you and Christian to eat. Like, it ain't that much. And even if it was, like, you know, it's not a big deal. I'm like, my stupid behind drove all the way back home.
But that's where you were in your journey at that time.
That's where I was in my journey. That was 10 years ago. Now I'd be like, oh, okay, you know. So,
Jess,
learning.
Hey, yo, you said something about men needing to be needed, and I realized women do too. In all relationships, if you don't need me, there's no reason for me to be here. There is something, there's an exchange in some way, emotional, comfort, whatever it be. If we don't need each other, then what the heck are we doing? You know, like, we have to meet something for one another. It's not saying I'm leaning all the way on you, I'm dependent, but there is a need and a desire on both ends, you know? For me, my pet peeve is indecisiveness. That can be with my friends or dude. Doesn't matter. Indecisiveness is a pet peeve of mine. I've gotten better at letting my friends, like with my homegirls, because I have a lot of homegirls that just can't decide. And I'll sit back and I'll wait. And it's been helping me so much. I'm like, I'm going to sit and wait. I've dated someone who was always like on board with whatever the heck I decided. And it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me, because if I said the sky was purple and it was 3:00 p.m., he would say, yeah, it is purple. Yeah. I'm like, no, it's not. You know? So like disagree. It's okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I realized, like, I want to feel something. And when people always agree with me and stuff like that, I don't feel nothing. I feel nothing. And so, like, decisiveness, like definitely being a leader. A lot of people look at me like I am very independent, like Vaughn was saying, how she is. I am independent even when I don't want to be. It just takes over. I'm a leader too, though. But a lot of guys will be like, oh man, look at her. She traveling the world. She doing her thing. But I don't want to make all the decisions in a relationship. I want someone that I can just sit back, not saying do nothing, but I know he got it. and I'm trusting that he got it. Like I will chime in, we can have a discussion, but I'm gonna trust you to lead me. I'm gonna trust you to make that decision. Like I am a-okay with handing the reins over to someone I trust. And if they make good decisions, you know what I mean? So that's like my ideal man. And I know sometimes we got to get there, we got to work to that sometimes, but I think that those are things like he got to be confident in himself and his decision making. So I learned in one of my past relationships, don't belittle when he make a bad decision. Because I was like, because being the little like alpha minded, I'd be like, what the hell was that? I told you, I did it, yo. Like, and then he wasn't confident in the next decisions he made. And so I take full responsibility for what I created in that relationship. And it wasn't that he wasn't safe, you know? And so I'm now, like Knight said, I learned what I did and it came at the end of that relationship. But for my future, this is what I'm doing. So yeah, I hope I answered it.
But you were creating toxic environments.
I did.
You was being trash.
I did.
I'm gonna tell y'all, that's a real dynamic between men and women. That's these small little things like if he's gonna make a decision, then it's second guess, because it seems like a lot of I've noticed that in myself, Black women have a lot of times been modeled to undermine Black men. You know what I mean? Like, what's it called? Like, and it's been since slavery, where you gotta, shut down the Black man so he stays safe and keep himself alive and everything like that. But it's like all the way up until, I can come up to a Black woman at a Black older woman, younger woman, whatever, at a a clerk or a desk or whatever like that in the store, and they're like, what you want? What you doing? You know what I mean? And it's just the natural body language. It's cute in this family, but it's still a small, like, what you got to say? You know what I mean? And it's those kind of things, little by little, subconsciously, that a Black man does not want to feel doubted all the time. You know what I mean? And like when you get the, like, and if they heard it a lot of times when they're growing up with their mother, some of them by themselves without a father, like, oh boy, you ain't saying nothing. Oh boy, whatever. You ain't, boy. And next thing you know, you hear it straight from the woman, like, weave into the relationship you get into. Mm-hmm. You hear it like, what you talking about? It's the nonverbal. You know what I mean? So it's like, even if you don't say, all I said was, what are you talking about? It's like, no, you said, boy, what you, your head, eyes, everything went, like, what you want? What you saying? What, you sure you think you know what you're talking about? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we've been really honed to doubt each other. You know what I mean? And so it sets us, because we probably come in, sometimes Black men come with a chip on their shoulder already from being doubted. Then a Black woman might not even know her nonverbals. She might be thinking she's giving all the support, but her nonverbals are saying something else. And then, you got underlying contention going on from the start. You know what I mean? And then both of y'all don't even know it, but it's building up until when you want this person to make a decision. They want to make a decision. Now they feel like you like, why you popping off? You know what I mean? And it's like, because you always be doubting me. When did I doubted you? I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, it pop off from seeds that never were said until they blew up.
Lack of communication. Isn't that what that is, Brandon? And
it's lack of communication, but it's lack of awareness too.
That's true.
Because it's when you are aware, we gotta. That's why I'm saying it now, because I never liked when, like, I'm a more of an actual analytical type mind person, so I never liked if I'm around Black dudes and they say, yo, I don't mess with Black women because da. And they say, and I'm like, you ain't met every Black woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, so how you gonna say that? You know what I mean? But so it gives me trepidation to even say, but I'm like, it's true, because I've seen over time just my interactions, and I've seen, and as an actor, I learned, nonverbals, how to portray people, how to portray, mentalities and personalities and stuff. So when you look at it, you're like, yo, we being taught to undercut and undermine and not believe and like, you know what I mean, doubt each other from the beginning, you know?
Yep.
I mean, lack of communication, lack of awareness, what you said, which is all about what we're talking about today in terms of evolution and journey. So recognizing those things, being aware of those things. Thank you, Brandon, for bringing those things up, because you're right. I don't think a lot of people notice those sorts of things that they sort of pick up along the way that they don't assess. Which brings us to something else we wanted to bring up in terms of, I think, Brandon, you made a beautiful point about Black men and Black women and people in general, but we all Black men and Black women on here, so we're going to break it down to that level, okay? That, you know, we all come in with a certain level of possibly defensiveness, distrust of one another, and those are things that, again, we pick up, you know, put in the bags, and then we just keep it pushing. And so I think one of the things we wanted to sort of bring up again with this particular topic is what we would call as women emotional baggage, where things that you've sort of picked up along your journey as you've been going, and whether that be emotional, mental, or whatever the situation is, that you sort of put in your arsenal, right, as a person, to be like, these are the things that I'm stockpiling that I feel like I need, you know, to make it through this journey, or based on this last incident, or, you know, relationship, or whatever happened that you are sort of clinging on to or holding on to, that may be detrimental to your evolution or your growth, or you becoming a better person, or navigating relationships well or better. So again, differences between men and women. I think when we talked about it last episode about women being given a lot of emotional ground, emotional space to be able to sort of unpack and go through these things. And it's kind of feeling like, I don't know, to us, it looks like men aren't necessarily given a lot of that space a lot of the time, just societally, or like you're saying, between men and women, we like, that's soft if you always trying to talk about your emotions. But men have emotions. Newsflash, they got feelings, they got emotions, they got things that they be going through that they would like to unpack and talk about as well. So moving into that, what would you guys like, what would you guys say that, what does emotional baggage look like for a man? Ray, I know you have a cool term that you introduced us all to in terms of, actually, I'll let you explain it. What's your term for this? We call it emotional baggage, but you said somebody put on.
But I don't even think, I mean, actually, I mean, I think they're two separate things. Like when I think about it, they're two separate things.
Okay.
Like there's emotional baggage and there's emotional labor. Like the emotional labor is just the work that you have to do through the relationship emotionally, because of the baggage. You feel me? But yeah, when terms of like emotional baggage though, that emotional baggage for men can be anything. It's just like, it could be anything. It could be some ish that, you was dealing with, that you've been dealing with since as a child. It was something like somebody hurt you in the last relationship, or just something you ain't dealt with yet. But it could literally be anything. And, a lot of times I feel like, men, like especially like, and we don't have necessarily the same type of spaces because it's just that's just not how things have necessarily been fostered. But dudes will get around and it's like the homie may tell, hey man, why don't you just come through and crack a beer open or something, come chill, hang out, relax. And that might, like for us, maybe that's what it looks like for you. Just you need to let your mind ease, because I think there's just as much as women have societal pressures, we have our own individual societal pressures. And so sometimes we just need to take a break from the world and just decompress. And so maybe it is just chilling with the homies and, hooping, for some folks getting on the 2K, for some folks,
it's a video game.
Yeah, I agree. That's what it is for some folks, but it's like, and sometimes, and a lot of times, like there's sometimes where we deal with, like, maybe sometimes like, hey, the homie gonna say, hey man, forget all that, man. Let's go to the club, hop up on something. And then you go into the club with your emotional baggage, and then you bring your emotional baggage onto somebody else. But hey, that could be considered toxic. But you just getting it off how you need to. But us as men, we definitely, just like women, we definitely have our things that we deal with. And I think that it's not even I don't even think that we necessarily deal with it all the way differently. I think that women just have more of a community to feel open about conversating with this stuff about more, you know, if it's a homie, I may got one homie or a couple of homies that but I feel women, it's more of a community that can talk about it. Y'all have online groups, y'all have, you know, conferences, like there's just so much just around women just getting together and talking about these things. For men, we don't necessarily have that. We have it in pockets, but it's not to the full extent.
Brandon, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I agree. Even the way that things are set up, you watch TV, all this stuff, and just things now you watch, and even for a long time, it is set up for women to concern themselves with bettering themselves. It's like for dudes, black dudes, is mainly concerned with getting money, or concerned with like you're not going to hear often unless you're in certain arenas, you know what I mean? Like for me, I'm in church or something like that, or even if you just into certain artistic arenas that talk about getting better in your craft, and it happens to talk about getting better in your body, in your soul and mental too. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, you're not going to hear too many arenas telling men to try to be a better person. You know what I mean? Try to better your soul, try to become more whole, try to, you know what I mean? You're not going to hear too many arenas fostering that. And that also comes to me as part of one of these agendas out here to, like, you know, separate us and everything, like build up one side, not the other. You know what I mean? And in that way, that one side feels like they can't deal with the other. You know what I mean? They don't need the other or something like that. But yeah, like that's what I've seen in it. And I mean, that's what I've noticed. I noticed that it's not really fostered, like you said, for men to do that, to evolve or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that as much as we talked about, you know, generational differences, right, or societal differences, like I think that we're in an interesting time in that I don't even want to call it like male masculine. I don't even know what to call it. It's just like I feel like this generation is taking on the job of trying to figure out, okay, where does emotional life fit for a man now?
Tune in next week for the conclusion of Men Are Trash, but Let Me Ask My Homeboy. We'd love to hear from our homies, so feel free to email us at intermissionhg, as in homegirls, that's intermissionhg@gmail.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram at intermissionhg. Until next time, this has been A Break with Your Homegirls.